Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We'll be starting in just maybe a minute or so to give people time to log on. Let's see. Are you ready to get started, Catrin?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Welcome. I appreciate you taking time from your afternoon to talk with us a little bit about partnering for impact, how collaboration drives digital inclusion. So I am Jennifer. I'm the development manager with the Digital Poverty Alliance, and we have with us Catrin Hale from Currys. So I just wanted to start by talking a little bit about who we are and what we'll be talking a little bit about today. So Elizabeth, our CEO, is unfortunately unwell. She's under the weather. She has a virus, so she sends her apologies. So I'll be stepping in for her and facilitating the conversation today. And so the Digital Poverty Alliance is a national charity working to end digital poverty across the UK once and for all. So we lead delivery projects like Tech for Families, which is a collaboration with Currys to provide devices and connectivity to families across the UK, and also increase their confidence in digital skills. Along with our practical work, we provide policy and advocacy work, advocating for change across the UK to think about how digital inclusion can be built into the services and make sure that everyone is included in the conversations about collaboration, design, and delivery to increase access and support. And so we work to make lasting change, which takes shared commitment, shared action, and shared learning. So this week is All Digital Week, which is a reflection of this shared approach. It's one of Europe's longest running and most far-reaching digital inclusion campaigns, launched in 2010 and now active in over 20 countries. The campaign has already supported nearly 1.5 million people to get online and increase digital skills. And our role is one of the 23 national coordinators for All Digital Weeks across Europe. And so in the UK, our focus is making the campaigns resonate, rooted in real people's experiences, and also aligning our work with what's already happening within communities. And so we see All Digital Weeks not just as a campaign, but as part of a broader movement, one that recognizes digital access as foundational to opportunities and fairness. The ability and opportunity to connect, learn, and participate should not be left to chance. So I will hand it over to Catrin to introduce herself. Thank you so much for being here today. Catrin.
Great. Yeah, thank you for having me. So I'm Catrin. I'm our social impact manager at Currys, and it means I manage all of our programs that look at helping to eradicate digital poverty. So we work with a number of partners, but predominantly the Digital Poverty Alliance. We've got our flagship scheme, Tech for Families. I'm really excited to talk about some of the work we're doing, about how collaboration has really driven, I think, some of the impact that we're having.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being here today. And everyone in the chat and on the webinar, thank you so much for being here today. Would like to invite you to introduce yourself in the chat and share a little bit about your name, who you are, if you're with the organization, who you're representing, and maybe a little bit about what brought you here today. And then at the end of this webinar, we'll have time to answer some questions as well. And so the first question for you, Catrin, is Tech for Families has supported more than 2,200 families. But from the outset, it was about more than just numbers. What do you think enabled this collaboration to become more strategic and sustained?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we launched Tech for Families in 2022. But I think what was really important is that we were already working together with the DPA. We became one of the founding partners. DPA was originally part of the Learning Foundation. We were one of the founding partners then. And we helped to, I guess, like fund the program for teachers. And that was all before we moved on to Tech for Families. And the reason we started working together, I think, came out of the back of the pandemic, which I think really shone a light on the need for digital, but also the fact that so many people did not have access and could not get the access they needed. not to just devices, but skills and connectivity. And so the partnership, it came from a really compelling start, and we'd recognised at Currys that actually we were in a really great place to help tackle that issue. So yeah, we started with a really solid foundation. From the very beginning, we had a shared vision to help eradicate poverty. I think some of the things that have been then really key to making it strategic and ongoing. Firstly, the use of evidence. So that's been really key to create that strategic and sustained partnership. We view the evidence review that you guys created at the very beginning, but also the work we do, such as Tech for Families, is a proof of concept. So we're able to really prove that it's the right thing to do, and then from that we can build and make it better, see what else we should be doing. We've also got buy-in from the top, so there was no question of this ever being a 2, 3, 5-year partnership, and then we'd end our work and go on to something new. We recognised it would really take a sustained effort to achieve the goal. There's no end date on our partnership. And I think that just means that everyone knows we're constantly working towards the bigger picture. And then that buy-in has spread across the entire business. So there's opportunities for colleagues and customers to become more aware of the issues, but also then find opportunities to get involved to tackle the issue. So we've got teams now proactively coming to us with ideas of how their day-to-day work can help tackle the issue, which is fantastic. And then I'd say the third thing is that we use each other's strengths. So the DPA are absolute experts in the issues around digital poverty, but we've got a huge scale and reach, and we can help build those solutions that will address and react to those needs to make change. I've got a question back to you. So the DPA has long framed digital exclusion as a systematic barrier to opportunity. So why does addressing it effectively demand a cross-sector approach rather than relying on charity or business effort in isolation?
Thank you. So digital poverty as a whole is incredibly complex, and I think it takes a real multifaceted approach to work to end digital poverty. And so it affects people in so many different ways, and there's so many different ways that digital poverty manifests itself in communities. And so I think that as we see through working with Currys and the Tech for Families program, each aspect of digital poverty kind of interplays with itself. So it's impossible to connect and utilize connection without a device, right? But it's impossible to build your technological skills without a device as well. And so thinking about how everyone can work together to address the multifaceted nature of digital poverty is essential. And I think so it comes down to charities working alongside businesses together, because as you said, we have the community understanding and also kind of the specialist experience to work together. But equally really highlighting the critical role of the government as well, to think about like a comprehensive approach to recognize how we can address digital poverty structurally and societally. And then looking at it both nationally and also at a community level. So thinking about how to get the devices into the hands of families, but also thinking about how policy and change can impact addressing the huge scale of the issue. And then I think another thing to be aware of across all sectors is really understanding digital inclusion and making it at the forefront of thought. So understanding that digital inclusion is not a luxury, it's essential, and that really access to services and connection is like a basic need currently at the moment, and only increasing over time too. Which takes us on to businesses can offer scale, reach, and visibility, but genuine impact demands more than resources. From your perspective, what did Currys do differently to help shape both ambition and delivery of the Tech for Families program and its wider digital inclusion efforts?
So I think it links back to our vision. So our vision at Currys is to help everyone enjoy amazing technology, and that's got a really powerful social purpose at its heart. So because we're experts in tech and how tech can affect your lives, we really recognize that, working, access to healthcare, paying for bills, getting news, information, shopping, socializing, so many daily activities are performed online. And so if you don't have that access to the online world, you can't really fully participate in society and you can't benefit from all the services that are available. We recognize that we sell devices to customers, but there are also millions of people out there in the UK who can't afford tech. And we need to make sure that we're not leaving those people behind. So we put eradicating digital poverty or helping to eradicate digital poverty into our strategic priority areas. And so we very much see ourselves as being on a journey that's going to educate, inspire, and empower our colleagues to take action. So we started with the education piece. Digital exclusion remains a critical issue in the UK. It's being worsened at the moment with the cost of living crisis, often forcing families to choose between really essential heating, eating, and then the access to technology. And this digital divide significantly impacts children's education. Many lack the necessary devices to participate in online lessons, complete homework, and then that can lead to educational setbacks. So we're sharing that information and educating our colleagues, and then hoping to inspire them to do more. So we're sharing the impact stories with Tech for Families. As I mentioned before, it was a proof of concept scheme. So we've got the evidence that it's a really good intervention. It's doing great things. It's making a huge amount of change. And we're really proud of what we're doing. And we want our colleagues and our customers to feel really proud too. So we're sharing the impact, shouting about it. I think I must bore people with the amount I talk about it and shout about the work we do, just so they feel that sense of pride and inspiration. And then we go on and celebrate individual teams that are doing a great job. So Tech for Families is largely funded through customer donations in store. So I've got to take the opportunity to shout out to the Air Store, who have never been beaten. They just really get how important it is. They're having conversations with customers all the time about where the money is going, families that are being helped, and just sharing that inspiration across their community. So they're fantastic. And like I said, we like to shout about who's doing well. So I have to call out Air. And then that goes on to empower our teams to proactively share ideas and think about what they can do. So I've had the retail media team donate space on our website that's not being used so that we can raise awareness. The refurb mobile and laptop teams are making donations for every refurb mobile and laptop sold online. And then, our retail colleagues as well really upped the game last year and did a huge campaign called Currysville, wanting to do more, raise more awareness, raise money. But we're also then providing time to upskill our own colleagues with AI skills and then deliver that training to good causes. So we're working in partnership with Neighbourly and Microsoft to deliver an AI skills training workshop. So we're always looking at what can we do next? How can we improve? Embedding what works into our business as usual, and then we can focus on what comes next. But Jennifer, from your side, what do you think has made this collaboration stand apart from more traditional kind of charity corporate models? So what's helped to preserve not just the alignment, but a shared sense of ambition that works involved?
Well, thank you. So Currys were actually one of the founding teams behind our transition into the Digital Poverty Alliance. And so our alignment in terms of our understanding and goals, I think has really set us apart in terms of working together. I think that similarly, there's no end to the amount of talking about digital poverty that we can do as well. And that gifts from and the funding from Currys has allowed us to do so much of what we do and so much of our work and delivery programs, but also some of the advocacy as well. Moira Thomas, who's one of our trustees, is a representative from Currys as well and sits on our trustee board. So I think the other thing that really sets us apart is the amount of team members or Currys the wider team that goes all the way from head office down into the stores, and the colleagues who are involved in supporting the Digital Poverty Alliance. So really kind of having that approach of everyone being on the same page and everyone having the shared goal of working together to understand what we're doing and how we can support ending digital poverty, I think is really unique. And I also think that, Catrin, what you do in terms of calling out those stores that are really going above and beyond is another way that is like really sets it apart to say like thank you and thanking everyone. So the customers who support Digital Poverty Alliance and also the colleagues and Currys and organizationally really recognition and sharing that the mission. And then I think the other thing too is that Curry supports us in more than just the donations. You are involved in our industry forum, and also so you're a corporate part of our corporate membership, and also that you do so much with the advocacy side of things to say, you know, taking what we find in our research or what we found in terms of like digital inclusion, and then like amplifying and celebrating that through Currys, I think is really a wonderful part of our collaboration as well. And so I think the next question is, when we speak about digital inclusion, we often default to devices or access, but sustainable inclusion involves much more. How do you think business and charity can complement each other to deliver deeper, more durable change?
Thank you. I think the first thing that's key is to listen to the experts and understand the needs. So it's why we partner with you. As I said, you are the expert that we work with in digital poverty. So we really want to make sure that whatever we're doing is needs driven. So yeah, Tech for Families came about because of that. We knew we wanted to do something, and we turned to you guys and like, what should we do? Who should we focus on? What is the need? And you kind of came up with the concept of Tech for Families, and you know, we worked out the logistics of it together, but it was very much based on those areas that needed the most, and where we felt that we could actually make a big change. Similarly, the program I mentioned where we're delivering AI skills driven by Nably and Microsoft, Nably take a needs-led approach. So rather than going to a lot of organizations and saying, XYZ, they listen to the organizations, what do they need? And then if our skills match, we'll pick it up and deliver that training. So we rely on the experts to come to us, and we'd recommend anyone does this, get the experts to tell you what the need is, and then think about where you're best placed to help solve that need. I think in our partnership, we really appreciate the different strengths and reach that we bring. So as I said, you're the expert in digital poverty. You can find and connect with those people who truly need our help. But then we're able to connect with thousands of customers each week. We can use our channels to reach the public, to raise awareness for the cause. We can unlock donations, build support. We can utilize other teams like our public affairs team to help get in with government. So we're always balancing, who's best placed to do what, and work together that play to our strengths. I think the other thing that's important is honest conversations and managing expectations. Again, as the experts, we might have some great ideas or ideas that we think are great, but you know what's really going to work, what people need. And so we have those honest conversations about, yep, this might work, that might not. What should we be doing? Similarly, that might mean focusing on depth or breadth of support. So rather than you might want to go and chase the numbers and help as many people as possible, but is that support actually going to be meaningful and long term? And again, by challenging each other, we can help us focus on the depth of that support and making sure that the change we're delivering is going to be long term, for sure. And then we're looking at short, medium, long-term goals. I think we both acknowledge some things take a long time to come to fruition. Everything's got to align, from budget cycles, having the right amount of data and insight as to what's needed. So we focus on what we can do now with a vision to get that up and running, but then also looking at the wider issue and where do we want to be, what needs to happen to get to the bigger picture in the end. And we do that by constantly evaluating and innovating the work that we're doing together. So based on your experience, what are the key attributes for strong, equitable partnership, and where do you see collaboration most often fall short?
So I think you've touched on it already, but I think our missions are very well aligned in terms of the collaboration between the Digital Poverty Alliance and Curry's to think about um, that it is, we're both really focused on increasing access to digital devices and technology. And it's a little different, but it's still very much on the same journey, right? And so thinking about how we can work together to really complement each other, I think is one of our huge successes. And I think the other thing about Curry's is that a lot of their teams do go above and beyond just the ways of collaborating that we've already talked about. So you've had some team members do like fundraising walks and things like that to try and think about how you can increase engagement and really get that awareness into the community as well. I think that, as you said, it's important to think about what is helpful, what is supportive, and what can potentially create a, a not a burden on charities, but that sometimes the resource allocation is really important within charities. So thinking about what can be supportive and what can be potentially create a little bit of friction. So thinking about how we've worked together is like a perfect example of all of these synergies, right? Of saying, of course, we can work with you and teach you guys about digital inclusion, to think about how you can allocate to your colleagues, to think about how they can talk about it with the public, and but thinking about how making sure that there's planning together, right? I think is what it comes down to as well in terms of this question is hard because it's about where they fall short. And so I don't know. I think that we're very dynamic, and I think there's a lot of solutions for any kind of relationship-based issue. So I can't really think of any specific examples of falling short. And instead, I'm going to divert the conversation slightly to talk a little bit about how amazing the impact report is for the Tech for Families Curry's work, and I'm hoping that someone from the Digital Poverty Alliance will put the impact report into the chat, because I think as we're talking about tech for families and relationships, it can feel very like theoretical, and I feel like the impact report really captures like some of the evaluation and what the change actually means for families. So I'm just going to plug that on the side. And so my next question is, from the earliest stages of program design to frontline delivery, what lessons have emerged that others could take forward if they want to build something meaningful and replicable?
Firstly, I want to thank you for the plug of the impact report, because I quite agree. It's brilliant to have that evidence behind what we're doing. But yes, to answer your actual question, I mean, we've talked about it already today, but buy-in is just so key. It has to be collaborative, and you've got to have buy-in from right across the business. Otherwise, you're just not setting yourself up for success. So for us, as I've mentioned, it's a bigger part of our wider company goal to help everyone enjoy amazing technology. It's a strategic link. It makes sense for everyone across the business. We're all working towards that vision, and it aligns so perfectly with it. It just means that it naturally falls into everyone's job role there. So we established, helped to establish the DPA, and we've made it then one of our key 3 strategic sustainability priorities. So I think what's key is within those 3 priorities, we've got helping to eradicate poverty. And I think helping, as before, is a really key word. We know that it's going to take collaboration, not just internally, but amongst charities, government, businesses, the public. Everyone's got to come together to tackle the issue. And we can think about how we can tap into as many of those as possible. So who can we work with? What can we do? As I've said, our public affairs team are heavily involved in work? What channels have we got? How can we amplify the message to all of colleagues and customers? It's looking at, as a business, what we can do, but then how can we tap into all of those other areas that will need to come together. And I think it's important to remember that this is something we've focused on. This goal's been within our business for just over 3 years, and we're really seeing the momentum build. Business is really getting behind it. So originally we had pennies at the store, and that was working towards Tech for Families. But we're seeing more and more teams get involved. As I said, like donating unused website space, teams fundraising as part of their away days, enabling people to volunteer to deliver skills training in communities. And I've already mentioned as well that the Currysville, where the stores got involved for a week in the run up to End Digital Poverty Day last year. By putting resource behind that, we saw colleague awareness of the issues of digital poverty that increased by 14% versus the start of that week by the end of the week, and plus they raised over £30,000 in just 1 week just do fundraising and getting like, the community to understand the needs. So that was huge. Already mentioned as well, we've launched a £1 donation on refurb mobile phones and laptops that are being sold online. Again, that was the team bringing the idea to us. It's not me having to demand that people do stuff. Everyone's really bought in and thinking about how they can get involved. And then later in the summer, we'll be expanding Penny into the online journey as well. So really exciting to, as I said, see that momentum building, teams thinking about how it's relevant to them, how they can get involved. And the thing we've mentioned already as well about celebrating that success, shouting about these initiatives. Got to have that steady drumbeat of awareness going, otherwise people will forget about it. We've got to celebrate and generate more and more. It also means we need to have the right people involved at every step. If it was just me working on it, it wouldn't happen. So, getting pennies online requires so much technical expertise. We have to, get senior buy-off for all of these ideas, and it's the right people in the room at the time making the pitch, getting everyone behind it. So it really is a huge team effort, huge collaboration, the right people saying, yes, this is what we can do. It can work for businesses, it can work for digital property, and we can make a huge difference. The communication never stops. We have to kind of keep celebrating success. And we also need to think about who we can partner with, who shares the goals with us. So combining resources and expertise with other businesses like Microsoft, the AI training that I mentioned. You've mentioned several times already, digital property is more than just access to devices. So thinking about what else we can do. Sharing knowledge about how devices can help bridge the digital divide. Sharing that knowledge is really important. And then, kind of just, I think, to keep innovating, keep thinking about new things, how people can get involved and who else. A question back for you. So delivering sustained social impact requires adaptability. What does it take to keep a partnership relevant and effective as conditions evolve internally and externally?
Well, thank you. I think this really builds on what you were just sharing as well about the importance of kind of communication, having the opportunity to be open and honest together and build something that is really going to support the mission and build a strong relationship together, to be able, like a professional working relationship in order to make our goals achievable. Right. And so I think that comes with a lot of engagement. I think regular meetings, understanding the needs and goals of each other, and then thinking about how we can work together to move towards those goals. Understanding that within that relationship, there might be blockages or disagreements, and thinking about how you can move past or around some of those things that are naturally going to come up in any kind of working relationship. And then thinking about how our participation can go beyond just talking about each other. So for example, Curry is attending our Network Away Day last week to come and talk a little bit more about our national delivery plan and overall thinking about where we're moving towards in the future as well, together and also independently. And so I think that the adaptability comes with opportunities to connect and to share independent priorities and then building something together. And so one of the new top priorities, thinking about your conversation about momentum too, is our involvement in the Digital Inclusion Action Plan with DCIT, with the Department of Science, Innovation, and Technology. So I think that that momentum of what we are doing together with Currys and the Digital Poverty Alliance, but also with other organizations, charities, and companies, but also thinking about that there's been a real shift in momentum in terms of like government priority to say that digital inclusion is now something that I think a lot of people are going to be talking about, and how we really framed that conversation together to think about what we can do and looking at what some of our interventions have accomplished as well. And so my next question is, we often say that we want to scale what works, but how do we build the infrastructure, alignment, and readiness to make that a reality in practice?
I mean, we've already touched upon the proof of concept element, but that is so key. Having the evidence that the interventions we're putting in place are the right initiatives and that having the biggest impact or a positive impact, so that we can replicate, share learning, and just lobby government if we need to. Mention these is incredibly timely. We can share all of this evidence in their call for evidence. But I think having for us as a company as well, then having that evidence of proof of concept, which is independently verified, which again I think is key, shows that we're doing the right thing, and then it's just that proof point when we want to do more and we're looking at what more we can do. It's just having that robustness behind that says this isn't a gut feeling, this is the right thing, here's the evidence, here's the lives we're changing, this is what it means. So it can help unlock other doors to both like funding, influence, all sorts of things that just helps us do more. Speaking of funding is obviously key. Nothing happens for free, unfortunately. So finding that funding to do more again is key. So as I've mentioned, we've put in place initiatives. We're always trying to raise more funds so that we can channel it through the UK. We've got the donations on refurb phones and laptops. We've got more people fundraising. We're introducing pennies online. We're always seeing what more we can do to raise more money. And then I guess again linking back to data, this data and mapping. So what's the longer term goal? So we know that what we're doing with Pet Families is working. Where do we go to next? Where's the next area of need? What's the bigger plan? So if we're raising more money, why are we raising more money? What are we hoping to achieve with that? So knowing what that route is, where we are now and where we're heading to, is really key. Partnerships, again, we've discussed so many times with partnerships, collaboration. So we're always speaking to our suppliers or other businesses that we work with. Firstly, we just want them to be aware of what we're doing, see if it sparks any thoughts with them, but also seeing if there's any synergies to find ways that we can either work together or make a warm introduction. But yeah, we've discussed it at length. It can't be achieved with just one or two charities and business organisations. It's going to take a lot of collaboration. Again, buzzwords that seems to be today, the buy-in and champion business is the key in driving it forward. But I think my final thought on it would be that we need to make sure whatever we're doing is easy and makes sense. As soon as we add too much complication, there's people are just going to find barriers and it's going to be difficult to execute. So we've got a scheme. We've got the evidence that the scheme works. We know we need to do more of it. So the question we send out to our partners across the business, suppliers, is how can you help us do more? How do we take this thing that works, that we know works, how do we go? And just throw the challenge together. So I've got one final question for you, and then I guess we can open the floor up to any questions. But for leaders across sectors who are open to partnerships but unsure how to begin, what's one insight that you'd share to help them move from idea to action?
Well, thank you. So as the development manager, I would say I am the right person to talk to. So after during the questions, I'll put in my information in the chat, and I'm sure it'll be there. But I think it's important to open with, just similar to what I was just saying, having a conversation about what the goals are, what the understanding is, and what you're hoping to accomplish. And so sometimes with organization partnerships, it can be a very long and like together partnership, like us and Curry's, right? Like I think we're bonded, you know. And other times people come with a problem and say, we need to do something in this community. Can you help us? Right. And it's very like brief. But I think understanding like we can help you accomplish that goal, even if it doesn't mean we work together for years. It's just, you know, a one-off distribution or a one-off donation of your professional devices. All of these things are very possible. And I think I would like to stress, as the person you would probably be meeting, that you don't need to have like a really clear idea or a plan before we start talking. So I think a lot of people are learning about digital inclusion every day for the first time. And so I think that some people are completely unaware. Probably everyone on the webinar already knows about it, but I think, you know, when you talk to friends and family and they're like, what, you know, so it's a new concept to a lot of people. And so I think that plays a role too in thinking about awareness and how that interacts with how we can support community endeavors. And so even if you're someone who thinks, I don't really even know what digital poverty is, and you want to just talk about what look working together might look like, I think that's fine too. So I think that's the other thing is you don't need to come in with like I have a formulated plan. It can just be like a casual conversation. Um, and I think thinking about what help looks like, what we can do for you. So we do a lot of professional training as well. So we offer kind of like a digital inclusion training to think about, does your organization hold digital inclusion within their mission, and whether there's something there that you could increase awareness within your organization, and also think about whether, if you're a public facing organization, are there areas where you're creating exclusion by through policies or through access that you could think about from a perspective of digital poverty. Um, and yeah, and really just getting in touch, having a conversation with us, joining webinars, good stuff too. But make a meeting with me and thinking about what we could possibly do. And I think the other thing too is, as with all collaboration, sometimes you meet and then you don't talk for a year, and then you meet again later. And so really just like making that initial connection, I would say, is the first thing. And building connections with someone that maybe it's going to become something in the future, but really just starting that conversation. So thank you so much, Catrin. Do you have anything else to add before we go to audience questions?
No, happy to go to questions. And apologies, I think my audio hasn't been great, but hopefully everyone's heard what I was saying.
Thank you. Well, I can hear you now. So audience questions, should I try to read them out? Okay. So I'm going to start at the bottom. What role do you think local government has within tackling digital poverty and digital inclusion? Hmm. Would you like me to answer, Katrin, or are you gonna?
Sorry, yeah, I was trying to find where that question was. Yeah, by all means.
Would you like me to go? Okay, so I think that the theme of our conversation today is all about building a network of collaboration and partnership. So I think local government, similar to charities, in order to tackle digital exclusion, we all need resources, right? And so I think that when it comes to local government, it's the resource of funding, and I think it's also the resource of time. So when you have someone focused on digital inclusion, like a digital inclusion officer, I think that that positions the small local government to say, this is something that's important to us, and also this person's time and space is protected to really take that perspective to allow digital inclusion to be part of their strategy. And so I think that that I don't think local government alone could do it. I think it needs to be a cross-sector approach of government, charity, and organizations together. But I think that they play an incredibly important role, and I think that one of the most essential roles that I think the local government has too is in identifying digitally excluded individuals within their community to try and highlight that. So to say, this neighborhood or this population really, really needs support. So really understanding the community where they are representing and making sure that they're trying to match the resources to those in need.
I think the only thing I'd add on that is last week you had your away day, and you had a local authority talking, I think it's Westminster, about a scheme they had so that people could use connectivity that was available, and instead of having to log on to several different hotspots. That was so interesting, and the fact they were able to share what was working well. And I think they were talking about how they could share their learning and expand it across kind of other authorities in London. Yeah, I think the DPA is really good at bringing people together and sharing their ideas on what's working well. And that was just one example, in the last week where, yeah, I've seen evidence of yeah, that sharing brings people together so that they can replicate. They seem very open to yeah, wanting people to know what they're doing, how they work.
Absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, they shared about their open roaming, which I don't feel confident in launching into how open roaming works, but it's maybe we have some resources we can put in the chat because Elizabeth actually just did a talk about open roaming the other day, and it was really amazing of like what's possible in terms of like businesses can essentially open up their network and donate their additional data into this like open roaming network where you can have like a surplus of data, and for like densely populated areas you could theoretically get like free coverage, and I think that's what Westminster has managed to do, and it's very interesting. So I will try and find and share some clearer information about how that works, but it was really incredible. Great. So the next question is, can Catrin provide a geographic breakdown of where help has been provided by Currys and where they are planning to help?
Yeah. So in terms of Tech for Families, which is the flagship scheme we've talked about today, we started in 5 pilot areas and then expanded that into 7. So we cover every nation. We're in Northern Ireland, Ayrshire in Scotland, Neath Port Talbot in Wales, gonna test me, Staffordshire, Norfolk coast, the Lincolnshire coast, and West Cumbria. So they're the 7 we're in now, and they're the areas where we're doing Tech for Families. We're talking at the moment about where next. So using some of those learnings, some of those areas are a bit more rural and post-industrial, some are a bit kind of more city-ish, and we're looking at with the DPA obviously looking at where there's been huge demands, or where we've been able to then kind of perhaps make bigger inroads into the number of people who are, or families facing digital poverty, working out what the next strategic aim or area that we should go into next should be. Obviously, we'd love to be able to cover the whole of the UK, but I think everyone on the call is very aware of just how huge the issue of digital poverty is. The demand scheme has been eye-opening, I think is the most positive way I can put that. Unfortunately, it's been really huge. So it will have to be a kind of gradual rollout as we go across the UK, and looking at that at the moment. But one thing I talked about earlier is colleagues and stores and people we work with feeling that they've got the authority or they're able to go off and do what they want to do. And so we hear pockets of information where some of our stores invite either go to community organisations or might invite organisations like the Beavers in, and they will do talks about online safety, for example, to Beavers, or they'll go into like homes with older people and just talk them through. Yep, your family set you up on WhatsApp so that you can keep in touch. Here's your tablet, you don't know how to do it, and they'll talk them through how to kind of keep in touch with their family. So we've then got stores especially looking at what their local need is and creating those small local partnerships and addressing those however works best for their workforce and what the local need is. So yeah, there's I guess those two things that we're doing. 7 areas for families, but then it very much depends on a local what's happening in a way.
Thank you. Okay, so another question is, do Curry's refurbished equipment simply return to their national sales website to be sold, or does the refurb equipment return to the store it was dropped off in? Perhaps it returns to the region or home country it was dropped off in.
So refurb, we do a few different things with refurb. So when devices come back, so Tech for Families are largely refurbished devices. If we don't have enough stock of the right spec, we'll then go into new. But when I talked about those 3 sustainability pillars, we've got one of them is about circular economy. So we want to give tech longer life. We don't want to create additional waste. We want to make sure we're getting the most out of our tech. So yeah, Tech for Families will probably get a refurb device. But as I said, if we haven't got enough of the right spec, we'll go into new. We do also sell some refurb devices, largely online, but I think we'll start to install, but I would have to come back in and confirm on that one. Where it ends up in terms of if it's going to store, I don't know. I'd have to look into it and come back to you. But yeah, there's a few things we did there. Then there's also, we might get tech in that can't be refurbed, be reused, but we've got a huge refurb centre in Newark. I think it's the largest in Europe. And there we will harvest parts. So if we know that a certain part of the motherboard or the keyboard is likely to go on a device, we've got this library where we'll harvest parts so that then when another device comes in and just could be fixed, we've got exactly what we need and it hasn't gone to waste. We've taken it from an old device. Last port of call is obviously the recycling, but we try to basically get as much use as possible out of any device. I'm hoping I've done that area justice. That's not quite my area, but something we're very proud of, and yes, circular economy is absolutely huge for us. We try to get that tech.
Thank you. And so the last question that I'm going to try and answer in a minute is, are you working with the government on their digital inclusion plan? So for Curry's and for us. So I'll answer for the Digital Poverty Alliance first. Yes. And we're encouraging people to provide evidence. Perhaps we can get the link into the chat for people to provide evidence about digital inclusion. And Catrin, are you?
We are as well. So actually straight after this call, I'm going on another one, working with a number of businesses, local authorities, to look at formulating a charter for organisations to sign up to so that their own tech can make it refurbished rather than going to e-waste. It's a busy afternoon for me, this and that.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. So I am just going to talk a little bit about ways that people can be involved in the Digital Poverty Alliance. So we have an industry forum, which I mentioned earlier, that Curry's are a member of, which is like a paid corporate membership. We have a community circle, which is focused on a network of charitable partners or nonprofits. We have our local authority network. So if you work with the government, you're welcome to join that one. And also, if you'd like to, you can sign up to our newsletter, which is online. And so a huge part of our work is actually bringing people together to kind of strengthen the mission and moving forward of what we do. And that connection really supports addressing digital poverty. So joining us in any way is a wonderful way of supporting ending digital poverty together. You can donate your devices or provide funding. So if there's a way that you'd like to work together, you're welcome to contact me. We also have, as you were saying, Catrin, a charter. So any organization can sign the Charter for Digital Inclusion with the Digital Poverty Alliance, and it's a way of so it's free. So, and as a way of kind of showing your intention of supporting digital inclusion through any way that is possible. And so there's no set standards that you need to meet. You just need to think about how organizationally there might be a way of increasing digital inclusion. And so with that, Catrin, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share to close us out today?
No, thank you for having me. It's been great. The questions have been great. Yeah, if anyone's got any specific questions on curries, I can stand up. I'm sure the UK can put you in contact with me. But yeah, love talking about the work we do together. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, Catrin, and thank you so much to Currys for all of the wonderful work we do together. I hope everyone did get a chance to skim or read the Tech for Families impact report. It's really it's really moving, to be honest. It's a really like moving report, and it really humanizes a lot of the work we do. So if no one has anything else, I'm gonna close out the webinar. Thank you so much, Catrin, for being here today. And thank you so much for everyone who came online and spent some time with us. And I am hoping that my contact details are in the chat. But if not, I will, they're online too. It's Jennifer at the digitalpovertyalliance.org. So you can just email me and arrange a time to talk. And Catrin, I will catch up with you soon. It's always lovely seeing you online or in person.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone so much.